The great thing about sleeping in the desert is you don't need a roof over your head. This isn't 5-star luxury. At night, it's 5 billion star luxury. Mind you, winter in the desert means cold nights. And so you need a good bedroll like this one, traditional Australian swag. The other piece of kit that's become standard in the Australian outback is the 4x4, because the distances here are so immense. But there are people who walk every inch of this country, and that's what I'm going to be doing, walking, because that's the only way to really get to know the land.
This is the Central Australian Desert, the red heart of the continent. I'm about 350 kilometres south of Uluru, what we call Ayers Rock. Now, because Australia is so vast, the coastal rains hardly ever reach here, so drought is common. Don't be misled by the trees and shrubs you see. They are specially adapted to desert conditions.
And over 40,000 years, the human inhabitants have also come to be specialists. I've been invited to go walk about with the Pitjantjatjara people, who are the local Aborigines, or as they prefer to be called, the Anangu.
The early explorers of Australia were astonished by the Anangu's ability to travel with impunity across land that they believed to be devoid of water.
The secret was that their elders had taught them from childhood stories about this landscape that detailed the location of every source of water to be found. Mind you, even if those early explorers had been standing on top of the water, they might never have known it. We're doing that right now. This is an Anangu water source. Is it wet? Oh yeah, it's wet water. Yeah, so we're going to dig here? Yeah.
Equally important is knowing how much water they'll find. They know this through careful observation of rainfall and signs like smoke in the air or tracks, which tell them of other people's movements in the area.
I've hit the rock. Here it comes. It's just starting to seep in, yeah? Is that right? And there is the water. That's what it's all about. And the reason that water's here is that it's seeped off of this landscape when there have been rains, run down the rock into a sort of basin. Of course, this basin is filled in with sand, and that protects the water from evaporation by the sun. And that's how you get your water. Okay. Just like this? Yeah. Just like that. And the grass acts as a sort of filter to keep the particles of soil out of the water. And you end up with something like that. Mind you, given a few minutes, the water will clear itself as the sediment just settles in it. You can't get cleaner water than that. Oh yeah, Wiru. Kapi Wiru. Is this the one we're after?
But it's in times of severe drought that the Pitjantjatjara are at their most resourceful.
This tree is an emergency source of water. It's the desert karajong, and you can use the root to get your water. Now, if you want to identify this tree, it's quite easy because the leaf looks just like an emu's track.
The women look for cracks in the ground, which indicate the location of a swollen root. Armed with only a crowbar as a digging stick and a small shovel, Mabel and Rosemary will often spend all day working in the bush in extreme temperatures. Their stamina is incredible. Historically, as in most Aboriginal societies, the women collect the bulk of the food and water. Roots from young desert karajong trees can be roasted and eaten.
Oh yeah, it's splashing me in the face. There we go. So, that's the root of the desert karajong. You scrape it, and you take those scrapings like this, and then you squeeze them, and there's the life-saving liquid. Wow. There. It tastes a bit like raw potato, but there's a lot of water in this root, as you can see. Now, if we were making a journey, we wouldn't peel all of the root like this. We just peel it back a little way and scrape down the root to give us enough water for that drink at that time. And then as we went on, we could peel back more and more and more. Fantastic. Brilliant. A lot of digging there.
The Anangu were devastated by the invasion of European settlers. Affected by disease, despair and alcoholism, they were not even granted Australian citizenship until 1967. Since then, they have fought for recognition. Today, the Pitjantjatjara have lands which cover an area of 100,000 square kilometres and a population of 3,500.
This is the Pitjantjatjara community of Amateur. 500 people live here, and whilst they still fiercely maintain their religion, they're also forward-thinking. They have a clinic and a school because they want the young generation to benefit from modern healthcare and education.
But despite these advantages, Anangu families still return to the bush because of their religion. They believe in the beginning of time, creatures both human and animal wandered over the land, shaping it. The stories passed down by the elders about these ancestral beings are known as the Chukurpa. The Chukurpa is fundamental to Anangu life. It contains the knowledge of how to survive in their country and is the law which binds them both physically and spiritually to the land. The wheelchair, made from branches of mulga trees and covered with grass, is the traditional Pitjantjatjara shelter. They're simple, sturdy and long-lasting, the perfect protection from winter winds. Even when they're not cooking, there's always a fire, and it really helps to keep the millions of flies at bay.
This is spinifex grass. It's one of the most common plants to be found in the deserts, and it's of fundamental importance to the Anangu. From it, they extract a resin, and they use that to bond cutting edges to handles, make their spear throwers, and even fix together their spears. Without it, life would almost be inconceivable.
The spinifex is repeatedly pounded with sticks until most of the resin has been dislodged from the stems. The mixture of resin and plant fragments is then swept up and is winnowed or yanded to remove extraneous material. It's then warmed until the resin melts and binds together. The resulting black substance can be repeatedly moulded by heating, and when cooled, sets hard and strong. Felix taught Aboriginal studies in Adelaide, but he found the city stressful and returned to his land.
This is home, this is reality. In the city, they believe in the modern day things, materialistic things, cars, houses, money. Whereas the land, back on the land, it's not materialistic. It's been there since the beginning of time. And it will always provide for you, you know. No matter what you ask for, it will provide. The town is, cities are different. Totally different. It's make-believe. That's why I come back.
Kamaluan ko pa parari. Kalajeng malu nya ko panya malu ko kamala pa wala mala pa. Pulara jikil pa mo pika darang ko jikila. Kau pika wial pa. Pulara alko nyanga jikinanga.
The Chukurpa is their culture, their religion and their law, and this includes strict rules for hunting and the preparation of meat. Charlie shot the emu and he extracts the sinew for binding his tools and weapons. The Chukurpa law dictates how to cook and eat the emu, and that means that Charlie, the successful hunter, can take no further part in the cooking process.
To shoot one of these here, it's a privilege to shoot one. It's providing the family with food, you know. It's a life cycle, everything goes around. Emus were humans, and they become emus, you know. They become providers for the peoples. We cut it up in a certain way because it was passed down for many generations. We still stick to that way. We take the two legs off and we cook that separate. Everything got to be done properly, you know.
Are there any things you mustn't do with this meat?
Oh, well, you can't use salt or whatever.
And what would happen if you did?
Oh, well, that's the law. The law says you doesn't eat with salt, and that's what we, you know. You can get killed, or your family can actually be killed, you know.
If you break the law?
Oh, yeah.
That's the chugurpa.
That's the dream. You're really strong in that area. They catch one of your families, or even yourself can be killed for that.
Respect for the chugurpa is so strong that it was difficult for Lee to even talk about it. The women have brought me out to find moku. That's witchetty grub to us. And this is the witchetty bush, or Acacia kempiana. But of course the secret to finding these grubs is knowing what to look for. And what they've shown me is that they're looking underneath the bushes for mounded soil, and particularly for these, which are the cases from the grub larvae from which a large grey moth develops. And that's a good sign that there's likely to be other grubs here to be dug up. Oh yeah, in here. And there he is, the witchetty grub, the moku. Here he comes. And of course, that's not just a popular food, it's a very important one, because grubs like this are extremely high in protein. Palia. Here goes for the witchetty grub. Yeah, it's a bit chewy with a soft centre. That's really quite nice. Tastes a bit sort of eggy. Palia. Wiru, yeah. Where's your digging stick? The witchetty grub can be eaten raw, but it's even better if it's being baked in the hot ashes of a campfire. It's particularly good food for young children, as it's easily digested. These women are looking for an ant, a special ant with a yellow striped abdomen. This worker ant will lead them to the entrances of a nest. A hole is dug, often deeper than the woman herself, as she skillfully follows the ant tunnels which connect to a large underground chamber. Their objective is to find a sweet treat that hangs on the roof of the main chamber of the nest. These honey ants are gently eased out with a stick. The ants become engorged with a honey-like fluid, and they feed other ants by regurgitation. Okay. Whoa, it's beautiful. Wiru. Oh, it tastes like liquid barley sugar. Fantastic. Another one?
I'm really privileged. The ladies have painted this canvas for me as a reminder of my time here in their country. But of course, it's more than just a picture. It depicts the landscape itself and the things you find here and stories associated with them.
Ngayolo paindamelani ngayo ko jokor ko wanampi nangaja wati ko jara nyenangi jokor pa
nangaja anean jokor banean amadalangro wan kara purkaring ko la an konja makere ko
nangaja na ngayolo makuwal ka ngura ngayuko ngonjoko ngora kalkala ngarani chukurpa min mako jongo chichi ko jara jarango mako manjini min manenong.
Since the first settlers arrived in Australia, the history of Aboriginal affairs has not been a happy one. Even now, land rights issues spark heated debate. Strikes me that if there is to be a way forward, there has to be tolerance and understanding. From what I've seen here, the Anangu have a culture and heritage that all modern Australians should cherish.
It's like a book. They can come back and open the book, and there it is. This is where the strength is for myself, my people, my children. Hopefully, till the day I die and the day my children die, and further on. That's why I come back home.